Hello, hello.
Hi,
There we go. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm very well, and you? I'm
Very
excited.
well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little introduction before we get started, okay? And so, for everyone that's hopping on, thank you, thank you, thank you. Super excited. So, in case of those of you who do not know who Majilyn is, or maybe you've heard of her, but now you're going to get to learn a little bit more, here's a little background, just something a little fun. So, Majilyn has a background in theater and dance. She's a very mesmerizing and incredibly talented Middle Eastern dance instructor and artist. She's an accomplished performer, a gifted instructor, a choreographer, very innovative, and a director. So she knows a lot about the topic we're going to be covering today. Her emotionality, her expressiveness in her performance is something that's very, I think, like a highlight and a key. Very elegant in her dance and has impeccable technique that captivates audiences of all ages. So Majilyn's Bellydance career and education began with Miss Tamerlan Dalal, the legend. If you have never heard of Tamerlan Dalal, please Google her. She's responsible for many of the cool dancers we have in South Florida. She's also the founder, Tamerlan is the founder of the Middle Eastern Dance Exchange that happened in 2002. So for 3 consecutive years, Majlin was the lead dancer in Bojinka's performing company and later became its artistic director. And she would create really cool, like visually engaging choreographies for the shows. Today, Majlin continues to inspire and motivate her students through her performances and her dynamic teaching style. So everyone, welcome Majlin.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very excited. That was a beautiful intro. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes, we actually connected. We knew, like, I've known about you for years, and I've actually seen, like, hi, look, like in and out when we're in certain things, but we didn't like meet until this process. And Robin, after her episode, had referred me to you, and I was like, yeah, let's like actually chat, you know? And I had seen you at Ahmed summer camp, and that's where I really got to chat with you some more.
Right, right. Correct.
So, today we're going to be covering the topic about the connection, some of the struggles we see with trying to connect with audience or within the dancer to the audience and vice versa, or
Right.
even themselves when they review, and some of the triumphs, some tools and techniques. I would like to always give the reminder to everyone who might be new that's going to be watching this interview or maybe later on when they do a replay. The goal of Let's Talk Belly Dance is to talk about the difficult things that happen behind the curtain. The things that usually you talk about, maybe a girlfriend or two that you trust or your significant other, the things that you're like,
Yes. A lot of those. Yes. Those moments, definitely.
see. So welcome everyone. Let's dig in. So this topic about connection. What does this mean? What do you mean by connection?
Well, connection, I believe that in order to have connection, you need to be able to convey emotion genuinely, and only then is that you create that magic. So if you're able to convey emotions authentically and genuinely, then you'll have that connection, which is so important. And it's really what is like the creme of the creme. It's like the cherry on top. So if you're missing that cherry on top, you'll be a great dancer, but perhaps not an extraordinary one. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Good
that's what
point.
I would say. That's like my little chant. Hey, if you're able to convey, emotions, you're able to connect, and that's the difference, really, truly the difference between a great dancer with impeccable technique and, just a wonderful dancer. But without the emotion, you won't get to that other level.
And I'll play like kind of a game like why do we have to connect? But why even care about emotions? Isn't technique enough? Shouldn't we just look good and execute the movement perfectly? Isn't that great enough?
I know, right? Everyone's focused, and there's some different, I guess your training, if you come from maybe like Katak or different types of dance genres, that the key point is emotion and then obviously technique. But emotion and being able to express that through, facial expression and everything. Sometimes with different dance genres, it's kind of easier because you start at a very young age, or it's just a very, very important part of that particular, dance. So I think if you have all the technique in the world, your audience, they want to be transported. I always say audiences love a story, whether it's an audio one or a visual one. They want to be transported into like a movie. They're there, but they're there to be transported, and they just want to um,
To be
be part,
entertained.
be part of it. Be part of it. I think that's why movie is such a huge thing.
Mhm.
And video games. What about the video games? People
Oh,
are there, they just want to dive in, and they're addicted to these video games because they feel that they're part of this. So I think the audience,
yeah.
for the most part, they want to be part of it. So if you're not able to connect, then what's the point of having all the technique in the world?
Yeah, it's like a
That
one-sided.
the art form yeah, your dance is your conversation. That's how you talk to your audience. If you only show technique but you're not really talking to your audience, then what's the point?
Yeah. I think with Middle Eastern music in particular, it always, with lyrics and songs, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but even the
Yes.
way it's structured in Maqam, even if it's a loose structure, at times, it's made to convey a certain emotion in the
Yes,
composition.
exactly.
For context, share us like a little, maybe an experience or a story you've had with this before, like how did it begin? When did you start? Was it in from the womb or in junior high? Were you in some sort of drama class, or tell us a little bit about your story?
Well, I my love for the arts started at a very young age. I was maybe about 6, 7 years old, and it was on Sunday. Sundays were a day to watch Charitín, Siempre el Domingo, and tons. During the week, the soap operas. That was a must. So
Mm,
Spanish soap operas can't get more dramatic than that. So that's where my love for the arts. I loved watching Charitín and pull on a wig, and she was a different character, and then she'll break into a dance move. And it was just not acting, but it was just, dancing, singing, everything, the whole trio. So that's where it all started. But it wasn't until my junior high years that I had an English teacher, but his true passion was drama. And he had us read like a story, and then he had us act it out, and I was like, acting it out, okay, I think I could do that. And that was like, wow, it was amazing. And that was my last year in junior high, actually. So the minute I went to high school, I signed up for a theater class, and I did 4 years of consecutive 4 years of drama class in high school with my amazing and awesome teacher, Miss Marty Hancock. And she truly has changed lives. Amazing teacher. And also in junior high, I took an elective. I never really had professional training in dance, but I signed up for modern dance class, and I had also a very incredible teacher, Miss Borges. And to this day, I teach beach ball arms, how to hold your arms, and so that was pretty much like the beginning. And then my belly dance career didn't really start. My belly dance journey didn't start until my late 20s, actually.
okay.
But and then from there, I also after high school, I continued um, with theater in Miami-Dade with amazing teacher Maria Teresa Rojas from Prometeo, and I did some one-act plays there. And it was a lot of fun. So,
Drama classes are definitely fun in theater. Tell me a little bit about, was it natural for you to convey emotion, or did you ever have maybe a struggle or maybe something that held you back, and like what
oh,
helped, if so?
oh my goodness, yes. Well, I'm a very shy person, And so it's always been a struggle, because I want to do so much, but that shyness, kind of gets in the way sometimes. So when I was in middle school, I was also well, now it's middle, but back then was junior high. But it was the end of the year's school show, and I was terribly sick. I had a huge virus, a stomach virus. I was throwing up. I didn't go to school that day, but I couldn't let my peers down. So I went to school. After school was over, the presentation was in the evening. I went feeling like crap, and I did the cancan. Ta na 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 na, and it takes a lot of energy to do a cancan. So there I was with my leg, and I had like a solo part. So my mom was like, "There's no way you could go to school." I'm like, "I have to, Mom. I have to. I'm gonna go." I go back after it was over. The adrenaline, I swear, while I was dancing, I didn't feel jack. I felt great. The minute that adrenaline just melted away, it was like back to puking. I was puking backstage. It was terrible. And in the audience, there was a dance choreographer and Mr. Rocky Race, and he had a troupe that they went all over. Like they would travel the world and everything. So they went backstage and reached out to see if I wanted to be part of this group. And the troupe name was Rockin's Gang. And actually, the street, 19th Street, is named after that instructor, Mr. Rocky Raisin. So Rocky Raisin, the troupe, they met twice a week. So I said yes. I asked, obviously my parents had begged them to allow me to be in this troupe, Rocky's Gang's troupe. And sure enough, I started, rehearsals, and I was like, okay, I got this. But, something was not clicking. Something that was not clicking, and I felt kind of out of place. I felt I wasn't sure what was going on. But one day, I go with my mother to Payless shoe store.
Payless.
And yes, they're like, I don't think they exist anymore. But I go to Payless, and this is incredible because the mind, the way it works. But I tried on a pair of shoes, and to me, all of a sudden, I was like, wow, these shoes, they feel so like tap dance shoes. I feel like I could dance in these shoes. So I begged my mom, like, Mom, I need these shoes. Like, wow, like they were amazing to the point. I mean, it was really exaggerated. The feeling, like I felt like these were magic shoes. So I went to rehearsals wearing the Payless shoes. Not jazz shoes nor anything. I'm there wearing the Payless shoes. And all of a sudden, I'm breaking into the choreography. And immediately they noticed something because I felt a certain way. All of a sudden, I had this confidence that I didn't feel prior. Mind you, I wasn't conscious before. I thought I was giving it my all, but I wasn't. But the minute I tried those shoes, something shifted, and I felt like Superwoman, Superwoman dance floor.
It reminds me. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and then they noticed right away. They were like, "Wow, Marilyn, whatever you're doing, just continue doing it." They were so impressed. And then obviously I kept using the shoes until one day I left the shoes behind. Like months after, I left the shoes behind one day, and I was like, "Oh my God, they're gonna discover me. They're gonna discover that the shoes, I'm gonna suck today. Oh my goodness." But it was the same thing, and that was the end of my my shoe era. The magic shoe era. I was like, oh, nothing changed. It was all in my head, but it's amazing how your brain plays tricks on you and how you think certain things make you feel a certain way. And
Yeah. It's like a good luck token for some people, right? They'll watch a game and they have like their lucky charm or lucky charm. It kind of reminds me sometimes that students in college that they'll wear a special outfit for workshops or special lucky bracelet for a performance, or it's kind of funny how that token kind of came out for you. It's very innocent, but mind over matter.
exactly. So total game changer. And then I realized, you realize you have the power. The power is within. So Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's one of the many. Yeah, but
So
very,
cute.
very touching. Yeah.
What about in terms of when you see, because this is always a topic that goes, it comes out in narrations, where you have real talent, like technical talent, and you can have emotional connection talent or lack thereof technique. And do you have anything, maybe one of your things that you directed, anything like that, where maybe you had to make a decision between emotion and technique?
Yes, and I've been producing and directing shows since 2008. That was my very first one, was Desert Silence. I also did Egypt, India in 2010. After that, I did Habibti and the King. After that, I did Middle Eastern Mosaic. We had 3 years of consecutive theater productions, and but my most challenging by far was Habibti and the King because it was a narrative Bellydance theatrical show.
Yeah.
And it was not just a showcase, it was so that I would say was my most challenging, where I had amazing, amazing you know, uh instructors being part of this production, which was not my production. It was actually Belly to Abs production, and I was hired to direct the show. But that's when I realized that just because you have talent and your technique is impeccable, you're not necessarily you may not be necessarily great at conveying a certain character or conveying a certain emotions genuinely. I felt at times it was very cliche. And I've seen it in other theatrical belly dance shows that it doesn't feel authentic. It just feels very cliche. It feels pushed. It feels like, oh, I'm supposed to be happy. And it's over the top, so it doesn't feel real. So I'm like, oh, it's a little too, you know, like forced. And so that was definitely one of the challenges that I found myself having, to the point that I contacted a very good friend of mine, which happened to be a director of one of the one act plays that I did. And I reached out to him and I asked, hey, it's like, is there any way you can come and maybe give some certain exercises? Because he would do this, 24/7. I pretty much left the theatrical, like theater classes many moons ago. Um, so I didn't really feel to a certain degree ready to tackle on so many instructors and all these exercises. So I asked him. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it, but I kid you not, it was definitely tough. And also there
What
was a
tough,
character.
tough how? Just for like, was it tough finding a dancer that can act, or was it tough for you to like decide on who to cast, or what was like the problem you
Well,
were?
I thought it was gonna, because each instructor, I saw their persona, how they are. So the characters, I assigned the characters based on their own persona. So I'm like, it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy because
Ah,
it's so similar to how they truly are. So
okay.
I think, but it wasn't. It was not. It was just no expression. And even though the characters were very similar to their own persona at times, they all of a sudden, it's like they shut off. Something happens, like they switch off, and it's like, oh wait, I need to act. Okay, so I have my technique, but all of a sudden something would just shut off. And I
I
was,
see. Okay.
and I was trying, and we did certain exercises, and saying the story, what's behind each character,
Mhm.
but it was still hard to have it expressed facially, and also in the body. So there are certain characters that you couldn't just dance the way you dance when you're telling a story. If depending on your character, there are certain things that your body movements change a little bit. They were also having a difficult time with that.
I see.
So, but there was one character, one of the youngsters. She her technique was not not all there, but she was really able to convey the emotion of loneliness, of abandonment so well that we got goosebumps. And we had judges. We did a little audition. We had an audition for that part. There was one girl, her technique was on point, fantastic. And then you had this other girl that her technique was not all there. But like I said, the way she was able to get into this character and the way she was able to convey these certain emotions necessary for that particular character, it was just, it was just breathtaking. It was the
Really?
goosebumps, you name it. We were like, we were on the verge of tears. We were like, oh God.
Oh,
Okay.
beautiful.
So I'm like, oh yes, she's the one. She's the one. But the pressure was on. The pressure was on because I was told, well, this is a dance theatrical production. Shouldn't you focus on shouldn't you uh, hire the girl with impeccable technique? And I was like, oh my gosh, I was heartbroken. I was like, oh my gosh, well, that's a point. Then I'm like, well, you're not able to connect. So it was this struggle. Things just happened in a way that we ended up having um, the Habibti that gave us all goosebumps, and it worked. It worked so darn well. We got to stand an ovation in that production, by the way. It was really amazing. Like a 20-minute ovation. I kid you not. It was incredible. It was incredible.
That's so fun. I'm reading through the comments that we've been talking. We've had various people chime in, like Art for Hair Leah, Life with Joy, Sayuri. Hey, Sayuri. Uh, just going like, I remember that show. It was so good.
We're talking from stage prep to little, simple stage designs and everything.
Mm,
Uh, Stage blocking. That's why it's so important, especially if you're in this realm of theater productions and especially narrative theater productions.
has to be very specific.
Then you definitely want to. That's when the theater comes really hand in hand with a dancer. And I always say, that theater is a dancer's best friend, especially if you want to go this route of producing narrative belly dance shows, because not only do you learn, obviously stage presence and stage blocking and awareness of your surroundings and your spatial awareness, from technical theater technical terms, lightings, uh,
Every
everything pretty much. So it goes really, really hand in hand.
my God.
Yes.
Oh, there's just talking about that. It's in my background. I've competed. I've judged after I had my time competing, and then as an instructor. I think so many times this has come about where even the audience, there's like an audience choice category, even a lot of times where that connection versus technique. And I mean, the unicorn and the best is technique and connection, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to choose. Like you would have to, I guess, phase two, and you go, "Ooh, who is the winner?" You have this one girl, this guy, or them, doing this, and I kind of think of it in I'm like hyper logical, and like I have a matrix almost, but I found that I've even given more points to the dancer that had made me feel something. And maybe it wasn't very perfect. I mean, to have perfect technique, it's like a lifelong journey, right? But I think we know the good enough, right? Really good, great technique in the dance. And then you have the one that isn't very strong. Sometimes not strong, it's not even close. But they made the audience feel something, and the audience will give them audience choice
Hmm.
because they felt something, they connected, maybe it brought back a memory, a time. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that, and I myself was that. My technique was not the strongest at all. However many years ago, more than 10 years ago now, when I had my competing stuff, but I could make them feel something, and that would make me win, even though I was not that good. So it's
Yeah,
funny
because
how
they're
that
able to move.
relates. Yeah, it makes them move, feel something.
Right. And you move the audience. The audience feels moved by your performance, whether the technique is there or not. But if you manage to do that, to move your audience, emotionally, then That's where it's at.
Let's get to the juice because I think a lot of people watching this that are interested in watching this episode, they're going to be listening to because they're struggling with this. They're like, okay, this is great. You know, woohoo. Maybe I've never had a theater class. Maybe I can't afford to do it. Maybe I've tried it and it's just not connecting. Maybe I'm just, you know, a lot of people are like home taught, which is totally fine, right? It's a melody,
Right.
home taught. But it's you can watch those melody dance where these kids when they dance and they just feel it naturally. Like there's that feeling, you know, and it's so endearing. What can we do for them, right? So I think before we maybe even get to solutions, I'm going way too ahead of myself. What are some mistakes that you went through, or some things that you're like, oh, this was a boo boo, maybe that I did, or things that I see.
Um, in terms of the well, being shy, like I apply my acting skills, or little tools or whatnot in my daily life, but it's not the same as when I have a character, of course. When I have a character, you could go as wild and as crazy and as deep as you can because you're portraying someone that you're completely not. And in my daily life, someone that's shy as I am, then I've applied certain things that I've learned, just by observing. And I always say be super observant, because if I'm shy, and if you go, let's say, to a job interview and you're all shy and you're looking down, maybe that's how you are, but you cannot present yourself that way. So what I do, I apply my acting skills in a way that's true to my core self, that is just pretty much is enhancing or just helping me be a better version of myself, but without losing me, my essence, who I am. That's
Magnificent.
completely different. That's different. Yeah. But now, if I'm playing a certain role or something like that, then you
Very
just completely get into that role and you research and you think of everything. So that's two completely scenarios where I use my acting skills and so forth. And I'm sorry, what was I think,
Oh, some mistakes that either you made, maybe because you mentioned you're very shy back then. Was there anything maybe from emotional connection standpoint that was not connecting or
yeah,
causing?
definitely. Yes. And one of the things that now I do, for example, is I used to completely over smile. I would allow the nerves to kick in. I didn't have control. I didn't really, even though I had my acting skills, but I would just allow my nerves to take over, and I would over smile. And when I over smile, it's like gums and everything to the third power. This is not like just, it's like, it does not look pretty. To the point it was that there was, back moons ago, there was an audition for the Bellydance Superstars. They had another subgroup that they called Club Bellydance. So they were holding auditions for Club Bellydance. And, I auditioned. Jelena was in the crowd, Miles Copeland, the director, or not director, but the one who came up with the whole concept of the Bellydance Superstars. Bojanka was there as well. And it was a very simple routine, very simple. And I was enjoying myself, but I was very nervous. So there I was, smiling to the third power, and it was like a frozen smile. And you don't realize. You don't realize until you get the comments and you kind of like, oh, okay, well, good. My technique was good and everything, but that killed it. That was one of the killing factors. And the other thing, like, I was platinum blonde back then, and it wasn't what they were looking for at the time. But definitely, I think the over smile was an overkill. So you have to be aware of that. So practice, I always say, practice in the mirror, practice not to overdo certain, facial expressions, and really dissect the video. Because one thing is practicing in front of the mirror, and sometimes you think, and what you see is different than when you record yourself. So, or even with technique and so forth, but even with facial expressions, sometimes you think you got it, you see yourself in the mirror, but you're not really seeing until you see the video and you're able to really dissect it. And you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that I would, twitch my eye like this. And that's something I used to do as well, unconsciously.
Oh, mira.
Cut an eye joke, you know? No, we don't want that. We don't want that nervous tick or whatever. Or even the dancer that's constantly winking because they think they're cute. It becomes like a twitch instead of like looking cute, sometimes it becomes an issue. So always practice those facial expressions. Warm up right before, warming up all the muscles and your face. And I know you're amazing at that. That the exercises that you do for your girls. Mm-hmm.
That's
So yeah, I would say that was definitely one of my big mistakes was allowing my nerves to kick in, not really looking in the mirror, not or dissecting myself through like videos. That's definitely one. And the other one, going back to theater productions, is just assuming that just because you have great technique that you'll be able to, you know, um, yeah, that you'll be able to act really.
yeah. I think the thing about watching film, like I kept thinking that old saying, it's like the camera doesn't lie. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can
Mm-hmm.
have your biases when you're in the mirror, and you can have your biases when you think it's by yourself without a mirror. But then you put a camera, and it's in your face. Like the truth is there if you're going to open your eyes and look at it. So it's a very powerful tool when used in a healthy way, and it's totally good, especially for like dancers, performers, entertainers. So
Right.
I like
Right.
I like that. I think something I
Mm-hmm.
noticed a lot as you're saying this is I've had, in my experience, quite a number of students, a number, like I think it's a thing, but it could be me. You let me know. Where they're so worried about looking pretty. They're so scared to look ugly. Ugly. And that just causes this big disconnect in them just letting go and actually like putting that wall that's in between them and the audience or whatever, maybe the camera, it's there. It's like this cold wall, and they're just so worried about looking ugly. And so something, I don't know if anyone here ever watches this, that I taught a lot of workshops on emotionality, and I still will, but when you were talking about your facial muscles, how you warm up your face, and I'm like, yes, there's a zillion things. And one of my workshops, we would begin, and I'd say, okay, put one cheek up, put one lip up, close one eye, make the other one, put your eyebrow, until they look crazy, like a crazy, ugly, like a truly Quasimodo face. And then I'd say, okay, open both eyes, because I'd make them do things and I'd be like, what the hell? But they'd go for it. And they'd be like, oh my God. And I'd be like, I promise you won't look like that. Like it will not be that bad. Just let
Yes.
it go. You have to do so much work to get your face to look that scary. And
Yeah.
so it's a way to break down some of that fear of looking pretty. Sometimes crying looks beautiful. It doesn't look pretty.
Right.
It's part
Exactly.
of the emotion.
Yeah. But I also, by the same token, there sometimes dancers may think that they're pretty much conveying a certain emotion a certain way, and they think they have it down packed in their facial expressions, and sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it could look vulgar, and
Hmm.
that's where, so it doesn't look pretty, but then it also looks vulgar. So that's a very important thing, because um, you want to make sure that the audience is reading you correctly.
Very.
And right, because there's certain gestures that imply certain things, and so I think it's really important to catch that. The
Yeah.
earlier the better. Definitely the earlier the better. Yes.
Or becomes a habit. That's very true. Unbreaking the habit is very difficult.
It's it's kind of like learning a technique, and if you learn it wrong, in order to just rectify that, it's like it takes so much longer than actually learning the technique. So the same thing, once you're used and habits, it's really hard to break certain habits. And but definitely the warming up before helps you relax your facial muscles. And because sometimes we're so tense because it's a mixture of emotions. So you're nervous, you're excited, but at the same time you're anxious because you just want to get it out, and out of the way. Like, I want to perform and that's it. So all that tension could really show off in your face, where you have a stiff look. And so by really practicing all these exercises and really moving everything, I mean, really warming up those muscles, and also the shaking. Sometimes a lot of dancers, they shake, and you see them and they're performing, and you see them, and you're like, oh my goodness, you kind of feel bad because you see that the nerves have taken over, and even they're trying to, you see that the face is shaking and everything. So, but definitely practicing those exercises. But definitely it's more than that, because expression and really emoting is goes beyond just the facial.
Mm-hmm. Which I want to get to that a little bit. I think one of those mistakes is maybe it goes down to fear, back to the fear thing. There's the
Oh
fear
yeah.
of looking a certain way externally, but then there's
Oh
the
yeah.
fear of the internal, right? And so I think this could be difficult for young dancers, but you haven't sometimes experienced the high and the highs and the lows yet. Or
Correct.
something you think you did, and then life loves to throw surprises, right? And so
Yes.
for mentioning that, I started thinking, well, that will always change the game even more. I think for the better. Unfortunately, when you go through really, really tough things, and
Right.
really, really great things are wonderful too. But if you go through something really difficult, it adds a lot of character, and your performance will get that much deeper. I remember when I retired for 10 months, and I was going through many things prior to that. And then COVID, it just is a recipe for disaster. And then I remember coming back 2 years ago now, and my dance was it was way deeper the way it felt. It was just a whole other level, like next level, because of the low lows and the high high that
Mhm.
before I took for granted, I didn't realize. Which, if you're a younger dancer listening, you're like, what the heck? I'm like 16 watching this, right? But
Right.
maybe to that, it's just go for things. What's the worst
Yeah.
that'll happen? You'll fail.
I'd say yes. Always. That's a big one for me. Is you got to tackle those fears head on. And also for the youngsters, or just people in general, there are different experiences that you may have been through, may not. So what to do when you haven't suffered a heartbreak? What to do when you haven't suffered a close loss? What do you do? So what I always, I'm a movie junkie, love
Me
movies.
too.
So I say watch films, movies. They could really transport you. And how do you feel when you watch, like, for example, if you watch The Notebook, that it, how do you feel? Like, watch films and see how you feel. Because if you haven't felt certain, you haven't gone through certain experiences, I think your best bet is to really dive in and go on a like a movie. What is it? Uh, like a
Binge.
yes, exactly. Just
Okay.
start watching like films, and that
One.
would help immensely.
Anais, it says it just froze. Is Majilyn back? Do you see us? I'm going to do a little dance.
Oh,
Wait, do you see us? Anyone? Let us know if we're frozen or not. We want to make sure this connection is on point.
right.
So anyone listening, because I see there's people on, so let us know in the comment. Are we good? Can we continue? Looks good? Yay! Sweet, thank you.
Everything? Okay. Were they able to catch everything or did they miss a? It's fine?
I I would recap just in a bow about the movie,
Okay.
just in case.
Yes. So I believe that if you don't have you haven't gone through certain experiences, dive into movies and just watch them and how do they make you feel? And then that would help you also immensely if you haven't had certain experiences in life and just go on and, become a movie junkie.
That's so true. You could watch a movie. That's true. I'll be honest, I was a cold-hearted when I was a teenager. Nothing would make me cry, but then I think over time became a snap, and movies sure could bring it out. I would watch Hachi. I was cold-blooded, but I remember I watched Hachi, an animal one, and that got me crying. I was like, oh my God, I cry in movies. What's wrong with me? Like when I was really young.
And it's funny because the movie has such an impact in me that the reason, I kid you not, this is like a little out of topic, but the reason I never tried drugs in my life is because I watched Less Than Zero when I was young, and that movie freaked the hell out of me. So movies have the power really to make such a huge impact and you feel a certain way. I was terrified. Just seeing the character, I was terrified, and I told myself, never, never. And I, yeah.
The
So,
tip for more experience or a tip for younger experience with movie. I love that. I love that. So good. Which brings
right.
us to maybe some solutions, right? We've covered a number of things, but okay, someone watching this, what are some actionable, tactful ways where they go, I don't get it, it's not happening. I swear, I see my face and I go, when I look at the video. What can they do?
I would say at home when you practice, perhaps put a song and try a kaleidoscope of emotions with that same song. Try, saying, okay, and sometimes even speaking your emotions out may help. Or your story. Add a story to your dance. Don't just dance just to dance, but create a story that might help you as well. But by adding also this exercise, by adding a kaleidoscope of emotions, see how your hand or how are you going to express those emotions with your body. All these exercises, and you could say, okay, I'm going to do this whole, I don't know, like this entire 2-minute song, and I'm just going to, try to emote, I don't know, sadness or grief or whatnot. Is that going to be out and about, or is you going to have a more heavy feel to your movement? How is your arabesque going to be like? Is it going to have the same feeling um, if you're expressing happiness or excitement? It's not. So try to really try to express certain feelings through your dance, even also through facial expression, and say it out loud. Maybe here sadness, and then you're doing sadness and happiness. You could go back and forth and allow do those exercises at home. It may feel a little more comfortable than if you're in a group in a classroom setting. So try those that type of exercises, this type of exercises. And I would say for like instructors, when you have students, um, I think one of the main things is, that's always, I think now there's a shift and a bit of a change. But back in the days, it was like, whatever you're feeling, it's time to dance, just leave it at the door, and that's it. We don't care. Just leave it at the door. It's time to dance. But I say, no, bring it in. Bring it in. Leave it at the door. Bring it in, and bring it in. And I want you to do the movements, whatever we're teaching in class. Create a time where they can express whatever they're feeling. Maybe they woke up and everything is just like a mess and they're just having a terrible day and they come in. I'm not going to say toss it at the door. I'm going to say, okay, hey, I see that, you're having one of those days. Okay, so I want you to just channel those feelings through your movements.
Mm,
And I've noticed by the end of the class, for the most part, you do, because just m- dancing in itself is very therapeutic. But sometimes it all depends. Everyone is a different. They feel differently. Everyone expresses obviously differently, and some are more open about sharing whatever they're feeling, and some are just keep it internalized and just bottle up, bottle up, bottle up, and one day they explode. And
hmm
some are just like, "Hey, I'm feeling like crap," and they're very open about it. So it all depends. There's some people that they're okay with being vulnerable, and others that it's like, I can't. They just feel they can't. It could be like past traumas. There's so many different scenarios, but without a lot of words, without getting into, your class becoming a therapy session, how can you allow your students to really express whatever they're going through without shutting them down, but actually encouraging them to use whatever feelings they're going through, or they just really channel those emotions with every movement that we do in class. At least give a certain amount of time to do that. And also there's different exercises that I like to do also to help with the more intimate or shy person, or you're not ready, or you're fearful of showing certain emotions. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna look like an idiot. I'm gonna look like ridiculous. So another exercise, pass the face. You pass the face, pass an emotion, and then as you pass it along, that emotion just gets bigger and bigger, and to the point it's like completely exaggerated. And
Oh,
then we do that in a group setting. It's also very helpful. Also, the mirroring, to mirror one another, that you close your eyes and you mirror the person in front. That's also, you start having that uh, kind of build a little trust, and feeling a little more confident, and it helps. So by mirroring each other, or also so what is it, charades, or these games that you have to like show. These are games that are fun, and is also very welcoming to express yourself, not only with the facial but with body language as well. But definitely, guess that emotion is a different type of game that instructors can play um, with their students as well. And I think it's like super super beneficial. Yeah.
yeah. Oh no, those are all really helpful for sure.
Yeah,
Pass the space.
right. Because if you sometimes the guess that emotion game, it's like sometimes you think you're expressing something, and it's like people are not getting it. So then so these are exercises that if you do it, time and time again, and it's just starts feeling a little more comfortable for you students, and the dance thing, all of a sudden there's a, a shift,
hmm
a shift.
Yeah,
And
they're super applicable, super cute too. I like this
yeah,
other group dynamic, but if you're alone and you're at home,
right.
I keep thinking back to like, I know for a fact there are some people that they cannot emote a face. You'll say joy, you'll say loss, you'll say excitedness, and what they convey is very like minimal movement. So
Minimal, yes,
I,
minimal
I
movement.
think I think if there's someone listening to this, like everything you're saying, yes, 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 but it's like almost next level. I think step A, if there's any step A or one person that's going to listen or see this, I
right.
go back, like I know technique is not what we want per se, but it could be step A is like, okay, if I do joy, maybe it's like, but does that joyful enough? Is that like, do you want to convey more of that? And maybe you just have to practice moving the facial muscles because everyone has different, I guess, control over it and awareness.
Mhm.
So if you literally need to be like, cheek up, or like lip point up and
Yes.
draw like this, not back, like, and play
Mhm.
this way until you get something that gets you warmed up to. moving the face a little more,
I agree. I
and
agree.
the rest will come. Just
Exactly. I agree. I think that those exercises are a necessity. You need to really, if you're stiff and you're very rigid, just like some, it's like everything. For example, when I do waves, you have an arch, and if you're some ladies have a very rigid hands, and I say always stretch, 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 and to the point that you'll be able to really get this loop. But you have to. It's a daily thing. It's not like I'm going to try it today and I'm going to try it next month. Is a daily thing that you need to practice. And the more you practice stretching your hand, then you'll be able to do this wave and really this arch, kind of like a split. The same thing happens with your facial movements. You know, you have to work on it on a daily basis. You know, it's okay. You're home. You know, it's like really try to do all these exercises to really soften those muscles. And eventually you'll start noticing that all of a sudden there's more flexibility, and you know, like sometimes it just goes deeper. It's something that it's like it's so hard that even in your own room, in your own space, some people have a hard time just expressing altogether.
yeah.
So
And
I,
the talk is going to be so good because we're going to keep sharing.
yeah. And you know, I'm very pro, you know, just getting some also therapy. It's so so good because you need, you know, like I said, dance is very therapeutic, but there comes a time that it's okay. I love my meditation classes. I used to go every Sunday, and it helped me relax. And it was, you know, really life-changing for me to just take my Sundays to like meditate. So and I'm very open to like therapy too, because and well, I think as an actor, you would tend to be very dramatic, but I think it's just so beneficial. I think not just for the actor, but for everyone, a nice therapy with the right, obviously, right person.
Oh, good.
Always, it's always golden. It's
Yeah.
always golden. Yeah.
So therapy, doing things that you're uncomfortable with, things that you're scared of. You can have a buddy if you're like
Yes.
needs
Yes.
help.
Yes. I always say tackle your fears head on, because really that fear is what keeps you in a bubble, keeps
Hmm.
you stagnant, keeps you from growing. Fear is just an awful, you know, for growth. Yes, you need to conquer that fear so you can move up and grow as a dancer, as a person. Tackle those fears because it can really be damaging to
Hmm.
allow the fears to take over.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be ugly, you know,
Hmm.
on stage. Allow yourself, you know, um, allow yourself to be vulnerable. And I know it's easier said than done, but
And it
I
all
think,
happens in steps.
yeah, yeah, baby steps, you know, and if you find yourself having a difficulty, then go at it. Go at it. Become somewhat of obsessive with it, because if you do it, it has to be something that's done consecutively on a daily basis, at least 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're fearful of improvising, what are you going to do? You're going to improvise every day, 10 to 15 minutes. If you're fearful of maybe trying, I don't know, you're fearful of using certain props, then go at it. You
Hmm.
know, don't allow, because a lot of people are like, oh, oh my goodness, Asai is my absolute favorite, but I've never done it because I'm so scared that I'm going to drop it, you know, or, you know, so things like that. So just tackle, at least in the dance world. Um,
So true.
I'm sorry?
So true.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yes. I
So,
think for maybe the more advanced, so we have a lot of people also that watch the podcast, and I think will be listening that are experienced professionals, and they're like, well, how can I get even deeper? I feel like I'm great, right? You get to a point where you're like, I feel like it's comfortable. I like the video, okay. and
Yeah,
but they want to do maybe even tap even deeper. So I know you mentioned reviewing video in the beginning, and if
right.
you're like, great, maybe have a different colleague, mentor, teacher,
Definitely.
a
Be
stranger comment.
observant. Yeah. Mhm. Be very observant. That's one of the things I would say. Be very observant. Who are your idols? Who do you look up to? Um and be very cautious also with that, because sometimes, especially newbies, they're following certain dancers, and as you go you learn like, oh, wait a minute. So you have to make sure that you're looking up to the right person, the right artist that's gonna lead you the right path, and and observe. How do they convey certain emotions? How do they carry themselves on stage? How do they demand the stage? How do they command it? How do they command the stage? Even in silence. That's one of the things I always say, because silence is also golden.
It's a note. There you
Silence is a golden. And and also do not try to imitate. I've seen that way too many times. Giving privates, they learn someone's choreography, and they're learning not only a choreography, but they're also learning the dancer's style. They're also learning the dancers, the way they convey emotions that could be completely far from the truth from your course. So how do you how you express certain emotions is going to be probably different than someone else. Maybe there's certain similarities, but so don't try. Learn choreography, but you need to make it your own. Don't take a certain person's emotion. And I think, I've mentioned before, it's like this whole fist thing. And then it's like you have all the dancers, they're learning and they're doing this. I'm like, but is
go.
this you? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
this is not you. So why? Oh well, I learned it that way. Okay, well, in this particular movement, what's true to you? How do you really feel? Oh well, I did it because I was taught to just do this in the choreo. I'm like, that's that's a no-no. Let's give it your sauce, your
Hmm.
sauce. You know, let's give it you now. That's so don't try to like imitate. Really be observant and of the dance that move you. See why did it cause something to happen? How did you get those goosebumps? Why are you crying? When I saw Randa Kamal back in the days at Little Egypt, I was my only competition actually that I ever did. And I placed, luckily. But I remember I was sat in the audience and I saw Randa and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I found myself slowly but surely sinking in my chair, and I was like, I'm like, where's the napkin? I need a napkin, And they move you so deeply. So observe how, are there the pauses? Are they breathing? Are they taking a breath? Is it just bang, 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 bang? Yeah, there it could be bang, but there's something else, internalized. So just be very observant. Another thing that I like to say is dance with your senses. And people are like, oh, well, like, yeah, if you're home dancing with your senses, how does that coffee smell make you feel? You know,
Ah, okay.
invigorating, you dance with your senses. When you touch, how does it hair? Does it feel rough? Does it feel like silk? You know, what are you seeing? I go around and I'm walking and I'm looking at everything. I'm looking how that tree moves, and I'm like, ooh, I like the way that tree moved all of a sudden. I observe everything. So
Hmm.
I encourage everyone to be super observant of your neighbor. How do they walk? They smile, especially in international belly dancing. How do they give you a certain news? How does your mailman, come to your door and you say hello? It's so like, pay attention to the little details, because that's going to help you the day you have to play a certain character,
Hmm.
and it's going to also help you in your daily life. for different things. We're playing roles. We're playing roles on a daily basis. But sometimes we're like, man, I wish I were a little more this. I wish I were a little more that. So observe the successful people, you know, around you. Observe. And then, you know, you're going to go to this job interview. Oh my gosh, you've been observing this person to the T. And you know, I'm gonna grab a little of that, and this is how I'm gonna go to my job interview, or this is how I'm gonna, you know, so apply all of the little details just by observing. That's gonna help you also, you know, grow. Um, and I say, going back to the fear, you you tackle that fear actually on purpose. Expose yourself, put yourself, you know, into fear. Like expose yourself and purposely, you know, to get yourself there. Because only then will you be able to um, start gaining that confidence. You know, with fear, you start really gaining confidence, and then when you have that confidence, it's kind of like it's a it's like a chain.
Like a
You
domino effect.
feel it. Oh, I was able to do it. Okay, you start feeling a little more confident. That confidence allows you to express yourself more authentically, more genuinely, because you have this confidence. And then it's like that chain. And before you know it, you know, it's just very helpful. Sometimes you may not see it, it might take some time. And then you immediately start seeing with time that your dancing starts feeling a little different.
Mm.
Allow, and also those voices. I know those little voices, and that was, you know, that voice, like, am I looking pretty, am I looking ugly, am I gonna like trip over and fall, am I, you know, am I looking, you know, constipated, you know, God knows other things that could be happening as you're performing. It's like, oof, you know, it's like so hard to just say, live the moment, be in the present, stop, you know, allowing those little voices to take over. And like I said, it's easier. You just have to put yourself in that situation. The more you do it, it starts getting a little more comfortable. You
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
close your eyes. If you need to close your eyes to get in the present and listen to the music, you know, and also the music. Going back to the music, are you gonna dance to instrumental? Are you gonna dance to lyrical? You know, there's gonna have vocals. That's something that, you know, happened to me in my baby years. You know, like I'm like, oh, I really love this Eglon song. I had no idea what he's saying, and there I am. Not only did I not know what he was saying, I didn't even know the rhythm, and I'm like, I like this song. You know, so no, nowadays we have, you know, we have all this access, you know, to
Translation.
information, and it was so, yeah, we have before, back in the days, it was difficult. It was difficult sometimes to get a good translation. So for the most part, we were told, like, hey, if you're gonna dance in front of a like Arab audience, make sure to do just like instrumental, things like that. And I remember Tamlin, she she did an exercise where she put a hantur and she had everyone, you know, just dance to it, and people were dancing to it, and they were like all like, you know, putting all these, you know, sexy faces, and like it was like all, you know, it was like juicy, but like very sexy, and then when she gave like the translation, it was like, oh, okay, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that, you know, that's really very, very important. And then those lyrics, right now, we're doing for Reminisce, the Golden Era, we're working on a Jasmina Ramsey choreo that we're going to be showcasing. And is Anna Bastanak. And one of the dancers, she said, you know, I'm feeling the music now. My loved one just left. He was gonna go on a, I guess, long trip or whatever. So all of a sudden she's like, I'm feeling it now. And I'm like, great, just go ahead and use those feelings. It's perfect for this number. You already know the moves, you know, now, you know, it's time to start really emoting, so you're longing for him, you're missing him. Perfect. That's exactly what the song is about. You're waiting for your lover to come be by your side. So let's apply that. Let's apply those emotions there.
I love
So,
that. Yeah, storyline is so powerful. But there are also, I have to play devil's advocate. There's ways that if you have no lyrics, the
yeah.
way that MENAHT music is created, again, I'm going to go back to because I'm a musical nerd,
Mm-hmm.
it's very intentional. The makam can give you a lot. It gives you the clue, right? And the rhythm as a secondary layer, maybe more of the style, the feel, the heaviness, or the lightness. The instrumentation chosen, it's a piccolo, I'm like a Western instrument, or you're going to go down into like something really deep and heavy, maybe like a bass drum. There's a whole range that can inform the decision of how you emote and connect to the music and to the audience with that music. So there's always like ways, whether there's lyrics or not,
Exactly.
you got all the information is there to make the recipe and make that
Right.
meal.
Exactly. Exactly. And like I said, always create, your little story as well, based on that knowledge, then create your little story, and then it will just make it easier, especially if you're improvising and things like that. Sometimes you have a skeleton and you create your little story, it'll guide you as
Mm-hmm.
well. Instead
Okay.
of, sometimes it could just be nerve-wracking, and then you end up just doing the same three movements throughout, and it's like, ah! But if you have the story already built in your head and everything, then it was just like, oh, it just makes everything just smoother. It's
Mm-hmm.
extremely helpful.
I love it. Everyone who's here, I'm gonna read some comments. Go typing
Yeah.
in any questions. The hour goes like this. If you have any questions, please type them in now. We would love to be able to read them. Majilyn is here. Let me go see some of the commentaries. There were a lot while we were chatting, and it was just the whole time as
Oh,
I was
great,
looking.
great, great, fantastic.
Nice. You can never tell she's actually really shy. I know you do a really good job of hiding how shy you are for reals. Never, ever, ever think it. Mm, let's see. Habibti and the King was a huge production. I remember it. My favorite production till this day, Life with Joy, Art for Hair, Love, 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 Habibti and the King. Oh yeah, we were talking about all of that and uh-huh.
Yes.
Then Jennifer, you're super theatrical too. Yes, but I mean, I don't think it just was. I think it built up over time. I'm naturally extroverted, but how that conveys being a musician and then a solo dancer was quite a change for me. It did not just happen. It was lots of stumbling. Recording is so difficult. We are never happy with our dance. I never say never. Positivity. Yes, it's difficult to watch, but what do you think, Matt?
I think it's a great start. You record, and maybe you're not recording enough. And if you're hard with yourself, I'm super, super hard with myself, but there's always little those key points like, okay, this is, I could improve and I could improve. So tackle those little, what did you like? Always try to and write, what did I like?
Mm-hmm.
My sister tells me all the time, you always focus on the negative first. And I was like, and everything. And I'm like, yeah, because the negative is what's bad. So I want to fix that first. But it's so true. You need to jot down what's the positive, what's the positive, and then obviously the negative, because that's, the area you want to continue improving. But don't just brush away the good stuff. Write it down, because just sometimes looking at it, you like, write it down. And only then, just by dissecting yourself, seeing what you've done good, what you liked, and obviously continue doing it. And eventually you'll start seeing like, wow, I really like this part. I didn't really like this one, but wow, I did this really, really good. And so just do more of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
The
You are
more you do it, it's not once a year, it's consistency.
every week, every day, every whatever.
At least 10 to 15 minutes a day. You know, I'm an introvert and I'm a very shy person. And people always think that I'm this extroverted person, that I'm always smiling. I'm like, I have my places where I feel a little more comfortable. But really, I use a lot of times I use acting just to not that I'm gearing, away from my true core self, but just to enhance and really help me just be a better version of me, because I know I cannot be like this. No, like I have to. I was very fearful of this job because I'm fearful of having live. I never do lives, so maybe now I'll start doing more live. And I purposely said, you know what, I'm gonna do it, even though I'm super fearful. And I was like, it didn't work out the first time. I'm doing it again. Oh my goodness! And it's great. It's great because I'm putting myself in what, you know, yeah, this is something that I fear, and I encourage everyone to do just that, to do just that, you
Love it
know, purposely expose yourself to what you fear the most. Yeah.
for
So,
that. Next one. Oh yeah, when we were chatting about when students, how you have such a fresh perspective on like, I was one of those where you're like, leave the emotions at the door. So we were chatting about how you're like, oh, channel that into your moves. And so Anais Zuma, channel those emotions via dance. I love it. It's for you, it may have seemed like to me, I was like, oh, that's such a fresh perspective. I think she agrees. Psyche. I can't do either one. Some people escape whatever they're going through dance. I become blocked when I'm distracted by any issue that is bothering me at the moment. Ah, very common too.
right. But you just have to dig deeper, the fear. Because I think a lot of the times when you really are honest with yourself, it always goes down to fear for some reason. It's like you really have to be as honest as possible with yourself, because most of the times is plain fear. Such a little short word, but so impactful.
Charades, yes.
Yes. Right.
I also have students pretend they're an object, and through that exercise, other facial expressions are shown. Oh, an object, how cute. Okay, I like that. There's some, oh, we got some love, people reconnecting here as I'm going through. Let me see. Move with the fear, go with it. That's how I initially felt with Zills, and now I absolutely love him. Yes, 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 yes.
We
Uh,
avoid what we fear, we try to avoid, and you just have to just go at it. Face it. Face your fears. Don't try to avoid them. Mm.
oh, silence is so loud. Yes. I think that's probably the next step for advanced level dancers is the technique. Wow. The emotion. Wow. And then you go, well, how can it be even better when there's like that contrast of the movement and the feeling even when there's no movement. I think that's like, to me, in my opinion, humbly, the next level when you can be still and you are just conveying to
Yes,
everyone everything. That
yes,
is
yes,
at the
yes.
mark.
Because it's not standing, you could just be standing, but when you stand with a purpose, woo, you
Mm.
feel it. That energy just like goes all over the place. Whether it's a stage, whether it's intimate setting, whatever scenario you may be in, that silence is gold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have commentary about nature and how it inspires. Yes, yes, yes. Focusing on the positive is just as important. Consistency is key. Yes to confronting fears. I love it. Everyone's like, yes, Majilyn. How do you approach, question for you. How do you approach creating a new production and avoid creative blocks?
I expose myself to as many, like I'm super observant, so I find inspiration everywhere. So if I have a creative block, then I really find inspiration in everything. And if you just look at nature, if you say I'm not inspired by this, then it's like, what else? I am inspired by different dance genres. Look at different dance genres, and one of the moves, and from I even at JLo, and I'm not a JLo fan, but I've seen her moves, and I was like, you know what? I got inspiration from that too, even though I'm not a fan, but I was able to do a move, and I just converted into, you know, um, like a nice belly dance move. So find inspiration in everything, just in nature, in different dance genres, in movies. You know, there's there's inspiration everywhere. If you look, if you really truly look, you'll find. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you for your questions and comments, everyone. We're gonna wrap it up. Oh my gosh, what are your final words, Majilyn? What do you want? Your wish for anyone that watches this? What do you want them to take away?
I was saying I will have to go back to the fear, because I think that's what keeps you in a bubble and what keeps you from expressing your true self. So if you're able to conquer that, and even if you have a difficult time at the beginning, just just go for it, and purposely put yourself in that scenario of that fear, and conquer that fear, because only then will you be able to grow as a dancer. And don't worry about how you look. Don't let the little voices take over with all the fearful, negative bullcrap that could happen in your head when you're performing. So it's baby steps. It's baby steps. And so, yes, just tackle those fears head on, and the rest will be cake.
I love that. If you guys want to learn more about Majilyn after this talk, DM her. You can find her on Majilyn Bellydance on Instagram, or go visit her website, which is www.majilyn.com. I'll put it in the
Yes,
description of the
I have.
podcast
Yeah.
afterwards.
And
Thank you.
before you go, I'm so
Oh,
sorry. Before you go, I just want to like
a little plug.
a little announcement. A little announcement. I have my theatrics and dance coming up in November, and just keep an eye out on that. And also, I do my routine every at spring camp, so I'll have that, and I'll also do my Florida Rocks event as well. That's next year. Um, and yes, I'm super, super excited. Please don't forget that this weekend is Reminisce the Golden Era, which I'm sponsoring. And that's happening this Friday. And then we have a fabulous weekend full of workshops as well. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. And thank you, Majilyn, so much for sharing so much of yourself. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it too. Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Till the next episode.
Mm.